What's up? It's Tom. We're going to talk about how the Minnesota Twins bullpen has been developing over the first 2 months of the season. What is going on over here? We'll go through it. I'll explain this to you. This is a chart that shows each of the bullpen members listed leverage index when they enter a game. If you've watched the channel a while, you know that's kind of a context that I like to look at in terms of bullpen management and in terms of who is being used in the highest leverage situations, because your manager is only deciding when to deploy you into a game at that moment. If you create a higher leverage situation for yourself, I don't think that really gives us any more context into sort of how Rocco Baldelli is using his bullpen. So that's why I choose that version of the leverage index. So as you can see here, we're just going to quick explain this, but you can see, generally speaking, a lot of the guys who are pitching in higher leverage situations have started to go down a bit, but from March to April into May, and there's a couple guys that have been moving up in terms of leverage. So we'll talk about who those guys are and why. You also see these two dots here, a couple guys that didn't have a big enough sample in both months to really list both. Caleb Thielbar, of course, was a high leverage guy prior to going on the injured list. He's on the comeback trail, so we should see him with the Twins at some point in June here. Was the fourth highest leverage guy in March/April. Now, what is this dot? Way up here, that is Brock Stewart. Brock Stewart, who I think made one appearance in April, the highest leverage guy for the Twins in May. So, I've made reference to this before in the Twins trying different things and the Twins mixing up their personnel. That's a huge one. You know, the other one was they demoted their opening day starting third baseman, Jose Miranda. But Brock Stewart not only just joining this bullpen, but being elevated to the top leverage guy by this metric in the bullpen. That is a pretty aggressive change to how things work out in the bullpen. Now, what's this line of this guy who was the highest leverage guy in March and April and is now, fifth? That is Griffin Jax. So I think on both ends of the spectrum, you see why. You know, both of these are deserved. Brock Stewart has looked incredible. Griffin Jax was doing horribly for a while there. So the bullpen is also fun to look at because it's the area you're going to see the biggest sweeping changes. I know a lot right now. A lot of people are very frustrated that Max Kepler, still the Twins' starting right fielder, they're just not going to make big moves like this on in the lineup on established guys, on guys who don't have options, on guys who are carrying salary. That's certain. Not going to pretend like that's not a thing. But they have been making some pretty big changes into how they're managing the bullpen. And Duran is always going to be up there, but that's one of the things that I don't really love about a set closer role. Sometimes your biggest leverage roles are not going to your closer, and that's where we see Duran was actually third, just barely third in March and April, and then he's second here in May. This red line is Jorge Lopez. I think we can, if he doesn't turn things around, I think we can expect this to go down even further in June. We'll see how he goes. But I wasn't encouraged by his performance last night, but I was encouraged to see him pitching in an 8-0 ball game. That tells me that the Twins are trying to get him out there to help him figure out what's going on and move forward, and that they aren't, if you're saving a guy for high leverage situations, you're not pitching him in an 8-0 game. So I was actually encouraged to see the Twins pitch Lopez in that game last night. Again, horrible performance. Not saying that I was encouraged by the performance, but I think that is an indication that he is going to be moving further down kind of the pecking order in the bullpen here. So we already talked about this blue line. That is Griffin Jax. This orange line is Jovani Moran, and part of that is due to Caleb Thielbar being out, certainly. That has elevated Moran to the top lefty, only lefty in the bullpen, with the top lefty in the bullpen. And he's not pitching real well, too. Actually, if you haven't been paying super close attention to him, I know he was frustrating a lot of people early on, but Jovani Moran's on a nice little roll here. So he's moved up the charts. And you see there that's the two most drastic ones. Jax being such a high leverage guy early on, Moran being such a low leverage guy early on, and they are actually they've switched positions just barely. Moran is above Jax for May. And then this last guy is our buddy, everybody's pal, Emilio Pagan, who, was started the year in about the lowest leverage situations that they could get to. And now he's almost up to basically leverage neutral. That's what 1 is. Basically, you go higher above 1, that's higher leverage. You go lower leverage, and 1 is basically neutral. Pagan almost was neutral in May because he pitched better too, and it's going to be, it's going to be a long road for him to regain my confidence, and I know a lot of you guys are the same way. So I still like Pagan being down here behind a lot of these guys, but gotta admit that he's been working his way back to at least a leverage neutral position, not pitching high leverage, but also not like saving these 8-0 opportunities for Pagan, because he's shown that he can handle a little bit more than that so far. So be very interesting to see how this evolves. You might say, well, wait, if Pagan's pitching neutral, who's all the guys pitching in these low leverage? The guys I didn't mention were like, Jose De Leon I didn't put on here. Jorge Alcala I didn't put on here. Cole Sands I didn't put on here. There have been some other, Derek Rodriguez had been up and down, Sabina Woods Richardson and Josh Winder. So all those guys who've been pitching low level, not really truly set members of the bullpen, guys who we've either been in and off the injured list or in that long relief, low leverage role I didn't bother throwing on here. It'll be interesting to see how things evolve, but certainly we're hoping for a better June in terms of the bullpen performance, and we're looking for Jorge Lopez has turned things around. I think everybody's kind of justifiably fed up with him right now, as am I. But he is very key to this bullpen. So the Twins are going to give him plenty of opportunity to get things turned around. Now, again, hopefully that is in low leverage, and then he can kind of work his way back up. So we'll see. Thanks for checking this out. Thanks to all the members for sponsoring this channel and making it so I don't have to dump a bunch of sports betting ads in the middle of these things. Really appreciate you guys here, the premium members. We'll talk again soon.